Oh, hello there. Well, it's one of those days. This was another one of those hottest days recorded in history, apparently. We were reaching low 30s, you know, of the Heatwave show. You know, it's rather annoying because everywhere I go there's bound to be people around. Like today's show is not going to be the one I was going to do. It was all basically about certain criterias. It was about life and how life is evolving and coping with the strange extreme temperatures that we are going through. Now let's be honest, these temperatures are beyond any kind of a joke. You know, in '88 temperatures reached a grand total of 28. In temperatures on the 28 raised in '98 even different. Now the temperature reaching 30 plus. Apparently they are the most recorded highest temperatures in England. London being one of the most hottest, reaching temperatures 32 plus. Now we all know the theories, climate change, how we all coping, the end of the world. I still will stick to the one balance being as such. Life is surviving, we're a part of life, the big cycle of life as it is. And that would be, you know, temperatures, animals are coping, lifestyle, graced out of the way, bloody students annoying me, where I would have been filming, where I'd have caught a lot more life. Today, will I capture life is another thing, because now the temperatures are dropping, but not by much. It's only dropped 1 degree, and this is what, now 1900 and 1900, and we're still reaching ridiculous temperatures. At the end of the day, you can hear all the clatter, you may be able to hear all the clatter of the birds. There's not many butterflies, there's not many bees. You know, I was going to give you a good example of what temperatures, as they keep motioning, as our axis and equators have changed, and they have changed. That is the theory that I work with. Scientists work with all climate change. Climate change ain't the answer to everything and everything. Climate change is just an excuse. It's what scientists do not understand. Now you just missed a squirrel. Even the lowly old squirrel, they are coping with the sudden change in temperature. There it is. See it? You can just probably catch its tail running around. Now, how do you reckon they are coping with such vast, extreme temperatures? Probably the same as us humans. Humans, we cope, we adapt, but there's only so much a person can adapt to. You know, the world is full of life, but it blooms, trees. Without the sun, without extreme heat, let's analyse what we would be like without such things. Without such things, we wouldn't have the trees being able to grow because they weren't getting enough light. Now, in the glasshouse theory, the glasshouse theory would be thus. The clouds are getting thicker, there's a big hole in the big ozone above because of fuel. Well, we're doing away with fuel. Fossil fuels are on their way out. We're using other means to adapt. So already, us as humans, us in life, are adapting. And adapting we are. I mean, I feel sorry for the birds, even the insects. Some of the insects, though, because of this sudden climate change, you may notice or may not notice, in certain areas, you have a dragonfly, which we ain't seen for decades, nearly a foot long. I only caught one the other day, and I'd love to have filmed it, because it's just a motion further to how life is changing, how the world itself is changing with climate change that we are going through, with the axis in the theory of the Mitt. The theory being that the axes are changing as we're moving up in the great void of space. We're moving up. Our winters are getting less Our summers are getting more. Rather than all this stuff about climate change, the ozone's eating away. This happens every so many hundreds of years. You look through the history, mass wipes, mass extinction, from various reasons, albeit from things as us, sudden cold temperatures, sudden hot temperatures. We are now in an era where temperature and climate are on the change yet again. The equators, if you analyse it properly, the equator is not where it used to be. We've got more weather, more trouble, earthquakes, but life is still coping. Life is so adaptable with the sudden increase in temperature, but where does it end? One would like to know. I mean, wildlife such as them, I don't know, can anyone see them? Little birdies like that. More and more of those type of species are being more frequent in an area that you wouldn't expect it. And that's because climate, temperature has changed. We've got hotter temperatures. Not only have we got hotter temperatures, we've got shorter winters, noisy, pricky students still interfering with life, so they are not aware of what goes on with life. We all are having our own conclusions. Each one of us, scientists or non-scientists, have our own ideals. My ideal is as standard. I share that with everyone, and I think scientists should look at it. We've moved up in the equation. When we moved up, we moved further around in the massive void of space, but yet life is still motioning on. Life would be lost without greater temperatures. I mean, the plants, the photosynthesis, that's the main credential. What I was saying without the sunlight as it is at the moment, photosynthesis would be very hard to happen. Only really because everyone's saying how all the climate's changing, the ozone's melting. Well, if it was, all these great plants, we are losing plants, but we are gaining older plants from a time before. Because a perpetual circle of life is what we always have to share, from animal to human. And that is the way life is. When you look upon the change, I mean, we've had earthquakes not too far away from our coast. Earthquakes in England. Who would ever imagine England, the lowly old little island in the sea, has earthquakes now, has more frequent hurricanes. These are the things that are going to keep happening because of where the equator seems to be changing, where the temperature of this planet is changing, where, I don't know, everything you can possibly conceive is on a change. Gone were the days when you could look upon a nice pond and you wouldn't see a great deal of life, but you would see action. I mean, there's a squirrel up here. Now where would we see that? A squirrel surviving brings us back to how squirrels disappeared, are adapting. More animals are getting more daring, more animals have to come into land to survive, because into bigger cities. Cities are where it is, cities where it's hot. London alone was 32 today, hottest recorded temperatures. Now it's so late in the evening, because even it was too hot for someone like me. I mean, many of us humans out here cope with it, and many of us find it very hard. It's nice for a little while, but then you start getting tired of it. But the life, it blooms everywhere. From the simplest of insects to even the vermin, rats. Rats, I'll tell that story another time. I had to deal with one today. A real big one. This is just inland, on land, on a landing. a private residential, a big rat. No reason why it was there, apart from you can only say maybe it was pillaging for food. Food is getting hard to come by. Take a good example where the climate has changed so much, where the equators have possibly moved because of the tilt on Earth. Because as we move further up in the void, as I've said this before, accesses, the sun's in a different motion. The sun would once be, say for argument's sake, in my front at this time of night. Now, because of the change, it's more to the corner. But this is how this world is changing. The equator's moved because of the tilt of the Earth's axis. Now, I'll always say this. I guarantee if we analyse this, if we were able to analyse this 100 years ago, we're here, Earth is now there. Because we've moved and spiralled up and further away from the sun in some cases. They say nearer in the sun. But this is the equation no one really knows the true answer to, for the simple reason is it's inconclusive. Inconclusive for a simple reason is, here we are, coming near the end of August, and we're still in the height of summer. We're still in the height of a heat wave. A heat wave, 78. In 78, we'd start having rain, clouded skies, the whole caboodle. Now what we're getting? Perpetual sunshine, less animals braving out the elements during the day. I mean, I would have liked to give you more of an example, showing you more life, how life has changed, how life is changing. Because it is changing, because everyone's coping. Everything that we know is coping with, well, with the sudden change, sudden increases in temperatures. You go down 20 odd years ago, you'd be pressed other than in America and the Middle East to have temperatures reaching, as they class it, 30 degrees, 32 degrees. Today reached the grand total, its very peak, reached 33. Scientists will still say, oh, it's climate changes. The Green Party would say, oh, our ozone's dying. No, our ozone is still repairing from damages that we do all the time when we test missiles, bombs, etc., 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 from the wars we've had. But that ain't what is changing the temperature and the climate of this planet. Earth is warming up. That's a known fact, scientific fact. Earth is warming up. All the question is why is it warming up? What is the cause? Ain't ozone. It's not just climate change. Climate change is happening all and every year. The climate changes every year. Every year it's either getting hotter or it's getting colder. But we will find in England, this little island in the sea, we will find temperatures increasing. For the simple reason is, it's where we are on the new refined equator from the axis of the great Earth, this big blue planet everyone treasures but exhausts everything they can from it. As we do, mankind, destroyer of lands, destroyer of worlds. That's truly our title. But it's not because we're greedy. It's not because, oh, we want to experiment with a new fuel. It is because mankind is always perpetually searching and reaching. Like life, it copes. With every way it can conceivably cope. And when it copes, it's great. When it can't cope, we start scratching our heads and say, oh, what are we going to do? Well, there's nothing we can do apart from adapt. And that's what we are doing. Whether we're aware of it or not, mankind, same as the animals on this planet, are adapting. They are coping with increased temperatures. They're coping with various other attributes of life in which we're all a party to. They say once, number of times, number of poetry even. We are but a chain of a bigger chain. We're a tool, we're a piece of machinery. We are just a part of the growing. Without that piece of machinery, there'd be no life. Life would die. 100 years' time. Who knows what life's going to offer for us? Temperatures are going to be extremely high. I would have shown clearly an example of how it is prospectively likely to turn, but I'm no scientist. I have an idea that I share with everybody, and everybody is what I'm sharing now. My ideals may not be the best, they're not scientifically proven or scientifically disproven. Man may be bright, but we're not that bright. Animals, they're in the chain like we are. With all of these in motion, life will still develop, will still grow, will still change. And when it changes to the degree of something, who knows. Higher temperatures for some parts of the world. You go to other parts of the world, they're getting colder temperatures. You go to America now. America is a good example. Last year was the best example ever. In America, where in England, we've reached our peaks of temperature. Our peaks of temperature are phenomenal, high. In America, their temperatures dropped way, way below any recorded knowledge to ours, and it was shared formidably by many departments of government. Who knows? Scientists are saying. But we still label it with one little thing that I still have to say formidably I do disagree. It ain't climate change, it ain't ozone waste. This is just the natural course of an Earth cycle. Earth cycles can range from 300 years to 1,000 years each time. Each time the temperatures will change, the equator may be slightly changed. Some parts where never had the hot temperatures will have hot temperatures. A lot of parts will have the colder temperatures. But the Earth is strange. The Earth, even with this heat wave, the Earth has its way of changing the way and coping, like us as humans cope, like our neighbours, the animals, are coping. Some don't, some do. Humans the same. Some will, some won't. But it's all grim and dim. Don't need to be grim and dim. What it is, basically, is change. Change that we've all got to get used to. And with the climate as it's changing at the current stage, this year we reached 32. Who knows what next year's going to offer us? 32 to what? 42? Them temperatures are not a joke, they are realistic. They will happen. But not yet. Hopefully not in our lifetime. Just yet. Well, it will happen in our lifetimes. But when it happens in our lifetime, as you can see, it's all quite dark in here now. You can hear all the life around as I'm walking through this development, you know, man has created for a walk through in the particular area I am. I mean, yeah, come winter, this will be flourishing, blooming. Come the some parts of summer, it's going to be even worse. You know, like at the moment it's nice and dark because the sun is finally setting. But look at the time, it's quite late. We're looking anywhere up to, I think it must be about 8 o'clock now, 2000 hours.